Okay, well, welcome everyone to our webinar today on reintroducing your new store to the community. We have some panelists today who are owners who have either done a redesign or a complete retool of their store. So before we get to them, I just want to share how you can go about asking questions. So off to, it should be the right side of your screen is a control box, and near the bottom there should be an area that says questions, and you can type your question right in there.
Oh, I'm on the webinar, sorry.
Okay, so at any point, feel free to type your questions. We're gonna go through some questions.
I'll get some going here shortly.
For the panelists, and then we'll get to your questions. This session also will be recorded, so within 24 hours, you'll receive an email with a full recording, so if you need to go back and listen to any information. So I want to introduce our panelists. So first we have Helen Kim of Kim Laundry Services. We also have Joe Jepson of O-Town Coin Laundry. And our third panelist has not joined us yet, so he may be hopping on late. It is Omer Khan from Buston Suds. All right, so to get us started, Helen, these are some photos from a laundromat that you did redesign. So you can maybe share with us what you did, if you don't mind, what you spent on it, kind of what your timeline was, just so they can get a sense of it.
Hi, I'm Helen. So my most recent refresh project was a little less than a year ago. I ended up selling it because I had a buyer right after my refresh who really wanted the store, so I apologize, I don't have any pictures of the after. However, at the time, I didn't want to upgrade my equipment because I had just purchased a business and I wanted to do a complete retool after my loan was paid off, which was only in a few years. I also wasn't in a hurry because I wasn't the owner of the building, so it didn't become my main priority. Most of my stores, I own the real estate, so I wanted to wait until I had finished paying off the store in order to reinvest the money to do a complete retool in the bigger items such as all the major equipment and plumbing. It was a 6,000 square foot store, so for the time being, I just did a renovation. These renovations included, basic repainting, doing a complete bathroom remodel, a new office build out. I added new retail furniture and retail shelves. I did a ton of maintenance work on the plumbing and the machines, added laundry sinks for the customers, added a brand new change machine, an ATM, and some coolers for the drinks and the ice cream. I put entertainment and TVs throughout the store. I also did a few build outs to have tenants, which included a check cashing booth, ethnic medicine shop, and also I had enough space to put in a food stall for my customers. It was a way for my vendors to make money, as well as offering services for my customers as a one-stop shop. The rental income from them helped me as well. So in total, I probably spent about $100,000 in renovations, and it probably took me approximately 2 weeks to finish it all. So.
Sorry, before I move to you, Joe, I'm being told there's an echo. So Joe, it looks like you have phone and computer. If you can either turn the audio off your computer or just use it, I think it's causing an echo.
It's off on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Should be.
I am hearing a little bit of background noise. So maybe when you're not talking, all of us just mute, and that should help it.
Okay.
All right, so now moving on, So Joe, this is your store, the before and after on the exterior. So you can kind of do the same. Let us know maybe first on the exterior and then we'll look at the interior pictures.
You bet. The So we're kind of in the same boat as Helen. We like to own the real estate that we do. We're from the apartment management world and originally, and we ended up building a laundromat inside of a large apartment building that we owned. That was the first laundromat we ever did, and we built it out in a in a small like convenience store that was at the bottom of the apartment building, and so we didn't have to rent it to somebody else. It was really small. It was only like 700 square feet, and it ended up knocking it out of the park. It did really well, and it ended up being really worked well with our management company that we also had for apartment management company. We found that we could operate our laundromat with our maintenance guys and our managers. They could kind of manage laundromats like they did apartment buildings. We were a little fooled at first. We thought that laundromats could be completely unattended and, and we'll just clean them at night. But we found out the hard way that you really do you should have people there anyway to keep an eye on stuff and to keep them really clean. Because we found that the cleaner you keep it, the better the people do, the happier customers are, the better reviews you get. And we found that the income is enough more when they're attended that it definitely covers those people and then some. Our income goes up quite a bit when they're fully attended. So anyway, that was our first experience. And after that, we've done like 5 more, 6 more of them. So there was 7 total. But this laundromat in particular was in downtown Salt Lake City. And downtown Salt Lake City only had a couple laundromats, which kind of surprised us. And we pulled up the demographics and we saw this is really odd that there's only 2. We found out that the entry barrier is really high. The real estate's very expensive. It costs a lot to build out a laundromat, a new one. The impact fees are very hefty. And so we found an existing one that I knew the owner of, and we had to step up a little on price, mostly because he owned the real estate. It was a very old one. They had like 15, 20-year-old machines. They weren't crazy old, 15-year-old machines isn't too crazy, but they were just really, inefficient. And we knew that through retooling, the other locations we had already done, that we'd be able to save a significant amount of money on our utilities just by doing that. And not only that, it dresses the store up. And once you put new machines in, you kind of have to dress the store up around it as well, is what we found. So at this store, we completely changed the layout of everything. It's a big store. It's like 6,000 square feet, so it's good size. It's our biggest store for sure. And we were just set on doing something in downtown Salt Lake City. We wanted to have our flagship store in Utah, in the capital city, and we wanted to have the biggest, baddest laundromat in the whole state. And that's what we ended up doing. So we built out this store, retooled it, and then we redid the renovation on the inside. We redid all the plumbing and all the electrical. It was all very old and dated, and obviously put in new bulkheads and new machines. And so what we found over doing 7 of these over the years is that if you're gonna, spend the money on a renovation and new machines especially, you might as well redo all your plumbing and everything as well. It just doesn't seem to, and your bulkheads. It just seems to bite us in the butt if we don't do that, like at the time that we do the renovation. And because we've had to go back in, that's one we're finishing right now. We're redoing another store, but not the machines, just the store, because we didn't update the plumbing, we didn't update the electrical. And it's not like we're having big issues with them. It's just, it just starts getting more maintenance intense in the store. And so anyway, this store, we put in new flooring, and we added a lot of windows to the store. You could see that picture that kind of shows the entire store. All those windows on the side, they weren't there before. We like to let the light come in and really illuminate a laundromat. We kind of have our signature style of the red, and if we have a grid ceiling, we'll put in our LED lights that we buy in bulk for apartment buildings as well. We'll put those in. We'll paint some plastic corrugated. It looks like corrugated steel, but it's plastic. We'll paint that black and the grid red, and that kind of sets the tone of our company colors, which is red, white, and black, and with a little bit of blue. And we always like to kind of do more of the industrial look. We think it looks sharp with the red and stuff, and so we like to blend it in with all aspects of the store, the theme, red everything if we can, and one of our sayings is more choice, and so we like to have many different sizes of machines to choose from if possible. We like to have vending machines that people can buy from. We like to have credit card options, cash options, so that people don't ever have an excuse they can't use our store. They can always come and use it, whether they're using credit cards or cash. We'll always have our vending machines stocked and full. We'll always have the size of machine they need for the area especially. And we really like them to be big open spaces. We find also that instead of stuffing as many machines into a building as you can, it's most of the time it's more worthwhile to have a couple less machines and a little more space for people. Anyway, as you can see in that store, it has pretty big wide open places. It has a total of 136 machines, which is a lot. Has a nice drop-off area, which we're not real serious about, but we still do it because we have a lot of attendance at this store. And I think the cost that we sunk into it, the machines alone were $700,000 or something like that. They were all brand new, every one of them. Plus new vending machines and everything, and then we put a good $200,000 to $300,000 into the renovation, probably around $250,000, because we redid, the boiler and all that stuff, the high efficiency boiler. It didn't have air conditioning before. We put that in. We had to put in 2 big air conditioners because it's a big space. You can see that oval spiral ducting up on the ceiling. We had to put that in. The new lighting, new drop ceiling, new windows. I mean, it's like a brand new building now. So it probably cost a little more than normal. One of our normal stores, like that's a normal size, about half the size, probably even a little less than half the size, is our average store size, about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. We spend roughly $100,000 typically on the building renovations themselves, and then whatever the machines end up costing as well. Sometimes we'll build our own bulkheads, but we usually like to order them from Highmark. They do a really good job for us. So, and we just find they're just laid out really nice. They're UL listed, so that makes them an appliance just like the laundry machine. So the cities don't get that involved with them when you go to install a new bulkhead. It's kind of like bringing in another, appliance. So they don't really bother you for appliances. Sometimes you have to educate them on that though. And we also like to offer really nice bathrooms. Even though the homeless tend to overrun them, we have to really, monitor them closely. But we love nice bathrooms as well. We think it brings the customers in. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I did like the bathroom a lot, which is why I added that photo. And for any of you who know Brian Grell, who does this whole zombie mat, his big thing is bathrooms, and he would be very proud of that bathroom. It's very nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Helen, what are some considerations that you took into place before making the investment in the redesign, like the length of the lease, the potential for revenue, your demographics? What were your considerations?
So an obvious consideration before doing a retool or remodel would definitely be the length of your lease. I was able to get a 20-year lease, so I went ahead with the remodel. I did a redesign that would suit my customer base. My customer base was 95% Hispanic and Latinos. So Hispanic and Latinos have very large families and they do a huge volume of laundry at once. So I knew I had to create an open space where they would be able to come in and out of the store with large amounts of laundry comfortably. I also sold a ton of laundry soap and counter items, like averaging about over 12,000 a month. So I constructed a focus point retail soap island actually for my customers to let them experience the touching and the smelling of the detergents and pretty much letting them know that I could trust them with the soap being out in the open for them to purchase. I know that was really risky, but for me, I think that really increased my sales for my soap. So um, so I literally created a small community, uh, also with adding vendor booths. A lot of my Hispanic customers would take a taxi or they don't have a vehicle, so I knew that whatever I put in the store for their convenience, that they would take advantage of it, and they wouldn't have to take an extra trip out to go get something, you know. So I in my vendor booth, I had put a check cashing place. I had put like a medicine shop, and I put like a little taco stand so they could grab a bite to eat. So I know that that was really good for them. And for the most part, my main goal was just to create an open space where they can be comfortable and it could be convenient and pretty much just like a one-stop shop for them. So.
Great, thank you. So Joe, during, I know you said you did 7 renovations, but I guess looking at this large one, did you close your store during it or remained open? And what kind of factored into your decision whether to remain open or close?
We always try to stay open if we can, if at all possible. Obviously, if the location was never a laundromat to begin with, that's obviously an easy decision. But this one was, and we had to shut down for part of it. We were able to get the dryers in, at least half of the dryers, because the other half of them had to have walls torn down and stuff. But we tried to do that behind tarping. So actually, we did do all the dryers while we were open. But when it came time to do the washers, we just couldn't, because we had to dig new trenches and everything for the main sewer. And we usually drop the water from the ceilings, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, the new bulkheads and all that, taking the machines out, yeah, we were unable to keep the water on to keep some of the old machines running because we completely changed the layout of the machines as well. So so it was hard to remain open for the washer. And so we were down, oh man, a good 3 months at least because we finished the flooring and all that as well, which was a big job. So anyway, so yeah, we had to shut down to replace the washers.
And what about you, Helen? Did you remain open or did you have to close any period of time?
I stayed open during the renovation. If anything, like it kind of gave like a customers like a sense of excitement and curiosity, because they were kind of like wondering what was going on and kind of just had something to kind of look forward to, and kind of created a little buzz in our small community. But I had a pretty large space to work with, so we pretty much kind of like worked in little sections. So I'm glad that we were able to stay open for them as well, because at the end of the day, they really needed to still come in and do their laundry. So yeah, that's what we did.
Great.
Yeah.
So one of the most important pieces of doing any renovation or retooling is the equipment financing. So in your opinion, I'll start with you, Joe, what can people who are listening do to be the best possible customer for financing companies to consider them for a loan of that kind? And what do you think a finance company is looking for in like the ideal candidate?
We've never had to finance our machines, luckily, although when we financed our buildings, they'll take them as additional collateral, so we've had to deal with that. so we get a better loan to value ratio on the building. Because we usually get a loan on the buildings when we buy them, not all of them, but most of them. And so, but from I really can't comment too much on getting an equipment loan as far as the machines go. But I can tell you what a bank would look for, because I've done a lot of loans. They'd look for somebody that's credit worthy, that's good at paying their bills back, and that knows how to run a business. Typically, they'd want some experience, but not all the time. If they can find other compensating factors to prove that you could be a good customer, I think they'll do that. One of the big things they're probably going to want to see is that you've done your research on your customer base, your demographics, and good calculations on what you think your income will be. Buying an existing store, that's a lot easier to prove, obviously. But if there's no store there before, that's a lot tougher to prove. But if there is an existing store there, typically after a renovation, we can reasonably expect our income to go up a minimum of 25%. But we've seen well over 50% in some situations. It just depends on the situation. On average, it's probably like 35% is what our income goes up by. If you're including because if you're replacing old machines, our income probably goes up more than that, because I'm just talking about collections probably goes up 35% on average. But your expenses will go down drastically as well. At least the utility costs will go down, and your repair costs, because typically machines are under a warranty. New machines, Maytags have like a 5-year warranty, which is one of the big reasons we like to use Maytag. They're really good about helping us get our parts replaced for free. And they've actually been amazing at standing behind their product for us, so we've been pretty pleased with Maytag. Anyway, so that's my suggestion with financing. So.
And what about you, Helen? What, in your opinion, do you think makes someone a good candidate? I don't know if you had to finance yours.
So I paid cash for my renovations, but keep in mind that I've only started in the laundromat business 4 years ago, and I was able to obtain 4 stores. I think that's pretty good at my age. But I started off with one store, an older store, and Eastern Funding, I was able to get connected with them. And Brian over at Eastern Funding has really helped me, really pushed me. And I guess if you just kind of show that you're really passionate and you kind of grow that rapport with a company, and they see that you're really trying and that you have a business plan and you're just really driven, I think that there's no reason to fail. And I mean, if you have somebody to back you up, I mean, like literally, I can call them and be like, hey, I would want to buy a store, and they would completely back me up. So this whole time I've been using Eastern Funding, so I'm glad for them.
All right, thank you. So you both have, shown us how great your stores look, and Helen, you talked about it, but there's always roadblocks that you hit along the way. So can you share any of the roadblocks with either permits or utilities, or of course now there's a lot of supply issues that you came upon, and what advice you'd have for those listening to avoid those? Let's start with you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, for me, like I didn't really do major renovations. I just did a lot of like TLC and just a little remodeling. But one small example that I really wanted to put into my store, but I couldn't because of my landlord, was I really wanted to put it in an automatic sliding door, but my landlord wouldn't let me. So that really kind of broke my heart, because I knew that how just that little thing would make me different from another store down the street. But just little things like that. I mean, just ask the landlord for any discrepancies, or the city, or for any permit discrepancies before you go ahead and start making your deposits or start making any purchases. or I mean, really you'll find out the hard way. And in construction, really like time is money. So like every day that you're closed or you have to, like there's a delay in something, I would just make sure to, just have good communication. And there's only certain things that your contractor can do. Like he's not going to go out of his way to contact your landlord or anything like that. And your landlord might not want certain things or might, you know, do the okay on certain construction parts that you want to put into your store. So that's really my only advice or roadblock that I kind of did hit during this little uh, remodeling.
Yeah, good advice to check with the landlord before you put the time and money into it. What about you, Joe? Any roadblocks that you hit in your several retoolings?
Yeah. A little more with what Helen said on financing, though. One of the roadblocks is financing. I've developed a relationship with a couple local credit unions specifically that has been, I mean, it's invaluable. I probably couldn't be the businessman I am today without one of them, especially. Um, they've just been so incredible for me over the years. I get industry associates, in the area that own laundromats or similar stuff to what I own, and buildings, and they call with horror stories with financing, and my rates are a titch higher than what you could probably get from a normal bank, what my credit union will offer, but I just never have these problems with my credit union. But it's having a relationship with them for the past 15 years probably that's led to that. So having a great relationship with a good lender, whether it's an equipment lender or a real estate lender. I mean, because my credit union has done equipment loans for me, but they're more like tractors and stuff. So for our property management company. So that's been huge roadblocks in the past, but it's been a long time since it's been a roadblock for me. But as far as like building the place out, the city obviously is always a big roadblock. They make things so much more complicated than they need to be. And it depends on the city. Some cities are within the same state. Some are great to work with, some are so easy. We've been able to retool some locations, completely retool, new bulkheads and everything. I'm not saying like all new utilities and stuff, but new bulkheads is a pretty serious job, and they don't really care because it's an appliance. And but then other cities, they want to have full plans drawn out and engineered, which can easily add $10,000, maybe more to the job. Easily $10,000. I mean, so there's that side of it. There's impact fees that can, if you don't check your impact fees before you buy a building or rent a space, you better check them, because sometimes they can cause something to be really, really expensive. That was the roadblock with Salt Lake City for sure. And what else? The city, we have a project right now. We bought a property a number of years ago just to hold it. It's in our building bank. We call it our building bank. So if we find a good property that we think will be really good, we will come and we'll buy it up, and then when we can get to it, we'll get to it. We have one right now we bought like 3-4 years ago, and we want to get to it. We've already designed the laundromat that's going to go in it. And we started to go through planning, and the city said, no, you have to get a special development agreement with the city council in order to get it through. I said, why can't we just get a building permit? Put in for our building permit. And they said, well, if a building goes vacant for more than 12 months, you lose all your grandfathering with the location. So now you have to bring the location completely up to code, which means we have to knock the building down and put a new building in. And the building had already been vacant for more than a year before we took over it and owned it. And so it's been sitting vacant for like 3 years, just sitting there. And it's a really rough place, obviously, but you need to check that type of stuff. We didn't check. We we looked at the zoning and said, oh yeah, we could do a laundromat there. It won't be a problem. We've done a laundromat in both cities right next door to it. And, but this one, they said, no, you have to get a special waiver by the city council, which is going to be a tall order. We're not really sure what we're going to do with that property now, because we can't put any business on it without a special agreement with the city council, unless we knock the building down, of course, and just build a brand new building, which is a real steep cost, obviously. So that's cities can be a huge roadblock, but they can also be a big help too. I found the jobs, there hasn't been many jobs we haven't had plans and a city involved, but there's been a few that we've done. Same with apartment buildings that we've renovated where the city has not been involved. And I felt like the quality of workmanship from contractors was not as good when the city wasn't involved. When the city is involved, when an architect's involved, they have to go by those plans because the city won't pass it off. And you tend to get better work when the city is involved. That's what I find. So they're just more detailed oriented. They just do better work. So that's one bright side of having a city involved. So anyway.
Great. So once the project is completed, so now kind of moving on to the main theme of our webinar. So Helen, I know you're in a unique situation in that you redesigned and then sold the laundromat. But maybe you can talk about with some of your others, like what can people do to reintroduce this new store to the community, sort of a grand opening?
Well, after the remodel, even though my machines weren't new, I did see an increase in business because it pretty much looked like a brand new store. Like just a little paint and a little TLC really can go a long way, and the customers, they notice. When people walk in, they automatically think, oh, did somebody buy over the store? I mean, what happened? Like, oh, like, like they just know that you care about the store, and it pretty much just got around as a word of mouth in my community, because especially with my customer clientele, they have such large families that they kind of just told each other, hey, look, it's a brand new store, but it really wasn't a brand new store. We had just done like some remodeling and some painting and TLC, but I think that was really what kind of got the buzz out there, that I didn't have to do any advertisement or anything. It's just my customers were just so happy. They were just like, wow, this is a store that I was already going to, but it looks brand new. But it wasn't brand new. I had just spent a little money on it just to like make it look brand new. So yeah, so that's how it kind of got around with me at the store.
So mostly word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth.
Yeah. How about you, Joe, with the stores that you retooled? What did you do to sort of reintroduce that store to the community as like a new store?
Well, quite often it's just on a busy street. There's been different scenarios, honestly, where, let's see, the first the first three stores we did, three or four stores we did, we honestly didn't have to do anything. They were on busy enough streets, and word just spread among the community and among our customers that income got kind of where we wanted it and felt like it was good. We always want to make it higher, obviously, and so we have done some Google Ads work and stuff, but it's honestly been nominal. We haven't seen much of a return on that. We like to spend around 10% of our gross income, I can't remember, on marketing if we can. But sometimes we just don't find we need to do that. There's like the point of diminishing return for that. And we've spent tons of money on Google Ads and Facebook and all sorts of stuff. And it didn't make any difference on like half of our stores, but maybe one more than half of them. But the other three stores, on the other hand, are stores we had to market heavily. We had to do grand openings, and we tried to do, like, honestly, our first three stores, we never did a grand opening, not once. And I started finding out that's like a big mistake not to do that. But we never had a problem with it. The income just doubled. It just did amazing. It was awesome. But then we started, renovating and doing a couple new stores that we thought would just do killer, but they didn't. They didn't do half as well as we thought they would do. They're slowly getting there, and they're starting to get to where we wanted them to. But like 2 years after the fact, where our first stores, hit our goals immediately with like 6 to 12 months, they were at our goal, and well above it in some situations. But with these other stores, like our flagship store, for example, that you saw the pictures of, it's been really frustrating. The income's great, don't get me wrong, it's been good, but it's not as high as what we were expecting. We were expecting much higher, but the income has been growing. It grows every month, it seems like, on average, but just at a much slower pace. We've been fully open for, let's see, we opened March of 21, I believe, like completely open. Everything was redone March of 2021, and now here we are, a year and a half, almost 2 years later, and the income is still, especially for how big of a store it is, the demographics of the area should support the income we thought we would get, but it hasn't done that yet. It's getting there, and we think it'll get there. It just might take a lot longer, and we've spent a lot of money doing it. Definitely more than 10% of the budget, more than the 10% that we budgeted for. We've definitely spent more than that to try to get it there. But the other thing we found is it helped at first to heavily market the location. When we saw the income wasn't going up like we had wanted and expected it to do, we started heavily investing into Google ads and Facebook and flyers in the community, radio ads, all sorts of stuff. Big grand opening. Grand opening definitely helped it quite a bit. But after the grand opening, the income went back down, and it didn't go like way down or anything. Overall, I think it helped it. But what we found has been helping is we have the Laundry Boss system in our buildings, and that one we specifically did specials, which we had never done in our other stores. That's helped to do some loyalty specials. That's probably helped more than anything lately. And then what else? We actually cut our Google ad and stuff, which is funny because we actually, for the first time, we actually asked our customers, we give them a free wash and a free dry if they'd fill out a questionnaire for us, a marketing questionnaire, to tell us how they found out about us. Why are they there? Did they see us from our new sign that we put out on the store, our signage from the street, or friend, family, Google search, Google Maps, Facebook, Yelp, stuff like that. We put all those there, and literally like 100. Oh man, it was okay. So the majority of them, it was probably 50% were walk-by traffic, just drive by or walk by, saw our sign, but 45% were Google, like between Google ads and Google search. Google Maps and Google search were 45% of them, and the rest were Facebook and Yelp and stuff like that. So Google was by far as like marketing goes. First of all, our signage was the number one thing, but the second thing was for sure Google. And so we started investing heavily into Google the first year, and it definitely helped, but it got to that point where it didn't help anymore. We just stopped the ad. We don't even spend $1 on Google anymore, and it has not hurt the income. So I think there comes a time where you find better ways to do it. We're trying to find better ways. One thing that really surprised us was mailers and door hangers. They didn't do anything. They didn't we went directly to the apartment buildings that should be using us, and they did not do anything to help us. So it's been kind of interesting, but we always say that Salt Lake City's backwards compared to all the other cities we operate in. When the income's up there, it's down in all the other cities, and when it's down, all the others are up. So it's kind of weird. So you kind of have to figure out what works for your store,
So we can't talk specific prices, but just in general, when after the redesign, we'll start with you, Helen, did you raise your prices and did you add any additional services? Like maybe you didn't have wash, dry, fold or something along those lines?
We actually did raise our prices a little bit, not because of the remodel, because I was gonna spend that money anyways on the store, but just because the store that I had bought, it was just so outdated with prices. They were stuck with the same prices for like the past 10 years. They hadn't raised prices. So that was the main reason why I didn't raise prices. But for the most part, if I were to do another remodel, I probably would not because if I didn't have to. But maybe after a retool, but for me, I only did a remodel, so I didn't feel the need. I wouldn't feel the need to have to raise. It's kind of like, you know, penalizing your customers for something that you wanted to do for them anyways. That's kind of like, in my opinion, if you're just doing a remodel. But if it was a retool, I probably would. So, but that's just my opinion and experience. So.
Sure. What about you, Joe? Did you raise prices after the retool or add any additional services you didn't offer prior?
Yeah, we always increase the price after a retool. Not necessarily a renovation, but definitely a retool. But we usually don't renovate unless we do a retool and add additional services. So, but that's our rule: is when we buy a location, we never increase the price unless we retool. Like if we retool, we like to. I guess what I'm saying is we will only increase the price if we're giving customers more for their money, right? Better machines, faster machines that wash better and get them in and out faster, that we have more sizes available than before, better vending options, maybe wash, dry, fold, stuff like that. Maybe it's more attended than it was before, or it's just attended period than what it was before. It's more clean than it was before. That's a big one for us, is nothing matters more than clean. Or like the Coin Laundry Association, one of their slogans is we're in the business of clean. We stole that from them and we use that a lot. So but yeah, we'll increase the price typically like 30% quite often once we've retooled. We're definitely a price leader in our markets for sure. 100, like nobody typically has higher price than us, but that's okay with us. We probably turn a lot of business away doing that, but our stores are also nicer than everybody else. There are a few people in our markets though that have really nice stores, but they're not direct competitors of ours, and their prices are high too. So, and sometimes people always complain about it when you first do it, and I understand, I get it. If your laundry costs went up 30%, you'd probably complain too. But lately, our costs have definitely gone up like 30% with inflation and stuff. Our water bills have been going crazy lately. Water and sewer bills have been going nuts. Same with gas, obviously, our natural gas bills and electricity, because our electrical power is pretty much produced through burning of natural gas, which natural gas has gone crazy. So our costs have definitely gone up a lot this year, that's another funny story about a city. Is our flagship store there, our bills were easily $3,000-4,000 a month for the water and sewer. We cut them more than in half by retooling the store, more than in half, just the water sewer bill. But since we retooled it, the prices have gone up to be where they were before. So we didn't save any money after a year and a half or two. So that's another thing you have to battle with, is when they increase prices on you too. But it goes to show also, had we not done that retool with those new machines, our bill would have been, crazy, like really high, probably like $6,000 a month. I couldn't even imagine that. So anyway, so that's something there to contend with, I guess. So.
Thank you. So I see we do have a few questions, so I'm going to move to those. And since we only have a little over 10 minutes left, or I'm sorry, 15 minutes. So this person is asking, what about smaller locations with like 50 to 60 washers and dryers in an urban community? How do you suggest marketing and rebranding? And what do you recommend to be prepared for on opening day? I don't know if one of you can answer that for a smaller location.
It's a smaller location in a smaller town, or is it just a
That in an
smaller?
urban community. So I guess a
So
small
Hmm.
location in a
I think for
larger.
me, like smaller towns are a lot easier to do business. And I realize like out of my stores, I realize the smaller like community stores, they're just a lot easier to develop relationships with your customers. So for me, I think that it's easier than having to, I have another store that's huge in a bigger city, and it's just so much harder to please the customers because they're always criticizing you, leaving you, Google reviews for something so small and so stupid. But I feel like in the smaller community, it's like just developing a relationship with your customers and just having that one-on-one relationship with them, just, being there and just showing that you really care. And I think that really makes an impact on their community. So I think when they realize that, it kind of brings in customers and they start bringing their family and, that's just from my experience. So I think that's a better impact that you can have on the community as well as your business. So, and a more direct. So,
Joe, I don't know, do you have anything to add for a smaller location?
I think so. We had a really small location. I wouldn't call Ogden City that small. Where Ogden, Utah, it probably has like I think the population's 100,000 or something, roughly. Probably a little less than that. But so it's not like a small town or anything. The smallest town we're in is probably 50,000. Um, but what we've noticed is when we opened our first store, we didn't have our signage done yet. So there's no signs on the property. Not like it was part of a big apartment building, but it was on the corner, so people could definitely see it. Um, our income was remaining steady, and it was good. We were actually really happy with it. And we didn't know anything at the time. We didn't have a clue where it should be. We just knew we did this to off because we were gonna either renovate the on-site laundry that the big building had, or do this public laundry and then let the building use the public laundry. And so we were tickled with how much money it was making. And then the signage got done. We had some really nice professional signage done. O-Town laundry signs that covered, the awnings that were on the building, and they lit up at night so people could see it. The income doubled overnight. Within 2 weeks, it doubled. And then it kept going up after another year, just a little bit every week, but it literally doubled that quickly. And so that's what I'd say is we found that really good signage on the property, like well-made signs that are lit, and even stuff in your windows that's professional and good looking. Like I said with our flagship store, nothing will do better than your signage, especially in a small town. That's my opinion, is good signage in a small town will probably do more to get the word out than anything else. Like, because people in your small town, I don't think Google or Facebook will work that well. I think it's more so with word of mouth and people seeing it as they drive by will do more for your laundromat in a small town than anything. I am friends with a few owners in really small towns like Morgan, Utah, which is I think it's Morgan. Um, really small laundromat, but he does really well. But he's got great signage. It's been there a long time, and it might take a little longer sometimes to get to where you want to be. But I think small towns can definitely have a lot of benefits. So.
Great. Yeah, and I know at CLA we always talk about the branding because you drive through so many towns and you just see laundromat. There's no name, and both of you have nice branding of your stores, which I think always helps too. So if anybody else has any questions, feel free to type them into that question box. So we do have another question, and it's not necessarily related specifically to retool, but I think both of you being experienced in the industry, you might be able to answer this. So the thing that everyone is talking about is employees, finding them and how do you keep them. So this person's asking for any advice on that. So do you have any magical tips for finding employees or keeping employees?
For us, it's tough. It's my general laundry manager, like when we got into the business, we grew really quickly. We got up to like 4 laundromats within a couple years. And so we had the ability to hire like a full-time general manager of our laundry operation. And she had this horrible time finding people that were reliable and that would show up and for their shift. And it was horrible, and they would even do a good job, and we finally, my bookkeeper is my mother, and my manager was venting to my mom about it, and my mom said, well, why? Because we wanted full-time people, like we staff them 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how we staff them. We don't staff them because we're open from 6 to 11, so we don't do the whole time because that would be a crazy amount of hours that we'd have to pay for. But we try to keep them there full time, right? And but when somebody would quit, the manager would have to go clean the location, right? So that would start wearing them out because one day she had 3 people quit in 4 stores. So like within a couple of days, she had a nervous breakdown, I think, and it was really rough. And my bookkeeper / mother, she said, well, why don't you just hire a couple part-timers? And so that was one of the biggest things we did that made the biggest difference. We won't hire full-time unless it's an actual manager. We won't hire full-time attendants. They have to be part-time. Well, for a store, we'll do 3 shifts. We'll have 3 part-timers for an 8-hour day. Like, it's much easier and people seem to like it. The people that do this attendant work seem to like that. It's extra income for them. Quite often we're finding the people that work for us don't want a full-time job. They need a part-time job. We find it's nice because if one doesn't show up for their shift or they quit, then the other 1 or 2 can fill in for them pretty easy. The only drawback for us was you're managing more people, obviously. And that was the reason I didn't like the idea at first, but I was proven wrong. It works way better than having just one full-time person at each store. Plus, it helps offset burnout. We'd have attendants get burnt out real fast because we'd require them to work every day for like 5 hours. And it also allowed us to put 8 hours at each store every day, which is good. On the weekends, actually, we'll do more hours than we do on weekdays. So anyway, but it all equals 8 hours a day. The other thing we instituted was bonuses for attendance bonuses. So quarterly bonuses. So if they simply show up on time and don't call in sick more than once, but they have to call in advance. And if we talked with our lawyer about it to make sure they weren't like breaking any rules. But the other thing was like if they just don't show up to work, they're not entitled to the bonus. And the bonus pretty much equates to $1 an hour bonus. So it's pretty much an extra paycheck a year is really what it comes out to be. If you get the bonus every quarter, it's pretty much an extra paycheck, equivalent to what your average paycheck would be per year. So that's helped a lot as well. And number 2, though, is review bonuses. Now, we don't pay for reviews, but if an attendant gets a review and they're mentioned in the review, we'll give them like $15, I think. And if they just get a good review and they're not mentioned, then the store will get the bonus. So the staff of the store will get the bonus split up, and that's paid out at the same time as their quarterly bonus. Some of them make like $600 a quarter. Like it's pretty good bonuses, some of them, and some don't. Some just are kind of shy and don't do it. But it encourages people to talk with customers. That's what we really want. We want attendants to become friendly with customers, and that's what that encourages. We will find out if they're paying people for for a review. We can't have that, because we want real reviews. We want to know if we're doing good or not. You know, if you're paid for reviews, you'll never know how your store is really doing. You'll never know if it's really good or not, if it's dirty or not, because people will still give you reviews if you're giving them a free wash. So that's what we do. We don't pay our customers for reviews. We pay our attendants for good reviews. So, and it seems to work out really well. We've been doing that for like 2 years now. It seems to work really well. So that's what we do.
Helen, anything to add for employees?
For me, I've actually been very, very lucky as far as employees. I haven't had anybody really quit on me yet. I maybe one or two, and I've just been very, very lucky. And I think it's because I do a lot of things, little things that mean a lot to them. I guess like I give them like a food allowance. I give them like a laundry allowance to do their laundry at work. I also give them a commission on wash and fold. So all the wash and folds that we do, they make a 10% commission. So I think just that adds up a lot of money every week. So just the little things like that, and just like that little extra money that I give them allowance to do their laundry and food. I mean, it goes a long way. And some of them have to take an Uber or a taxi to work, so I just kind of give them an extra little, bonus or an allowance for that. And just those little things have kept them very loyal, and it makes them very happy to work there. And because they're happy to work there, they spread the word of mouth of like, to their cousin or to their friend, hey, like I'm working here, and like I never have a shortage of work. So I have like the next line of generation of people who want to kind of work. Just because, I just kind of treat my employees just like the way that I would want to, be treated. And I just, just reward them in incentives and with money. So at the end of the day, that's what we're all working for, right? Money. So that's kind of worked out for me, and it's worked out pretty well. So I don't know the particular secret sauce for that, but for me, it's worked out. So.
Well, I think, you mentioned two big things: perks, people always like, and just treating people with respect. I mean, that's what most people want, no matter where you work. So good advice. So in just the couple minutes that we have left, I just wanted to share a few more resources that we offer through CLA. They're part of our CLA Business Solutions, which are companies that we work with that provide some of the products and services to help you run a better business. So the two that are on the screen right now offer different digital marketing services, which would help if you were retooling and trying to reintroduce your store. The newest one is with a company called Logical Position, and they help with pay-per-click digital advertising and paid social media services. So Joe talked a little bit about Google ads. It can be very confusing trying to do that on your own if you don't have the time, don't have the expertise. So they will have an account manager who will kind of walk you through that, help you set up a program, and they do offer some special pricing for CLA. The other one is AMP. So a little bit different, that they will put together a mobile optimized website. Joe also referenced the Google listings, your business listing. It's really important that those stay up to date, because that's how you rise to the top in these Google searches. So they'll help you manage that. Some of those reviews you get, those positive reviews that you get from customers, they will put it on your web page for you. They can help you with a Facebook page. So they offer some really nice packages at really good pricing. And again, the pricing varies based on if you want to do some of it yourself with their guidance, or you want them to do everything. So if you go to this website, CLA, you can learn more about each of those. A little unrelated to marketing, but some other services we offer is Helen talked a little bit about perks for her employees. One thing that some employees employers do offer is health insurance, and we work with a company that can provide health insurance for just you and your family, or if it's something you wanted to consider offering to your employees, they have various options. They also have a really nice prescription drug plan. I believe it's something around $10 a month, and all the drugs, or majority of the drugs, are actually free through that. So that's a good program. And then Atmosphere TV is a streaming platform. Basically, it can replace cable in your laundromat. There is no cost to you. So through a relationship with CLA, there's a basic package, and then there's a upgraded package where they have digital signage, so that if you wanted to run specials or things going on in the community, you could do that through the digital signage. So again, this website has more information. And then lastly, I just wanted to share a few of the upcoming events that we're still doing this year. We'll have one more webinar on December 14th, Ask Me Anything with Wash, Dry, Fold experts. So we'll have, again, a few owners who are very experienced in that area, where you'll be able to ask questions. We also have 2 more of our Connect Live local events in Texas next week, the 8th in Dallas and the 9th in Houston. We will be doing many more events in 2023. So if you sort of bookmark our events calendar, everything will be listed there, as well as you'll be getting emails about that. So with that, I would like Joe and Helen for sharing their knowledge with us today and taking the time to participate. I want to thank all of you for attending. Once again, as a reminder, or if you join late, you will get a recording of today's program, so that you can go back and listen to anything you may have missed or you want to hear again. So with that, I hope to see everyone at our next program, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.